Good morning, everybody. We're finally ready to go. We have Ricardo and Eric, and they're going to be talking about data retention and passenger name records. So go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Can you hear me? I can hear myself. But the microphone not working. Louder. Louder? Microphone. Will I turn this on?
Ah.
Maybe now? Yeah, better. Okay. Right. Next to speaking naked, I think booting in front of a tech community is really embarrassing. Anyway, thanks for your patience. So, I'm Erik Josefsson. I work for Electronic Frontier Foundation. I'm since half a year, or since February this year. So, I'm approaching my first year as European Affairs Coordinator. Can you hear me? Okay, the echo is quite loud here. So, I used to work with FFII. I still work in some projects together with FFII on IPRED 2, for example, but my main experience and maybe contribution was the Software Patents Directive that was killed 2 years ago. Now, there are really, really many other things happening in Brussels than just software patents. And one of the things that I've been a bit involved in was the Data Retention Directive. And now, since a couple of weeks, I'm also trying to follow a new proposal to save PNR records, personal name records. I'm calling this the Brussels workshop because I hope there will be some questions at the end. I'm not a technical specialist. I'm also not really completely up to speed on the whole package of this PNR proposal. But I have a small quote here from some anonymous Eurocrat, or that's the kind of the thing that you sometimes hear as a joke, that first we decide, and then we vote, and finally we discuss. And I think maybe this is not a joke, and therefore this is really serious. I think that the initiatives that comes from Brussels have not been, they don't originate in the, at least not in the way I think political initiatives should originate. I'm Swedish, so at least I think we have a political system that starts with a common understanding that something is wrong, and then you have a proposal, and then that enters into the political system and finally becomes law. But some things in current policy making is not going that path, and we have a completely different path. So, just as an example, the Data Retention Directive. This is a quote from a speech by Alexander Alvaro. He's a German MEP. He's from the Liberal Group, and he was the rapporteur for this directive. And this is a quote from a hearing the Greens arranged in the European Parliament. It was just 1 week before the vote of the European Parliament in December 2005. So he said there is no impact assessment on what technical impact this will have. How much will this affect IP industry in general? We don't know. How much will it affect the interior market? We don't know. How much influence will it have on labor markets? We don't know. What will it cost to SMEs? We don't know. The rapporteur, Alvaro, he withdrew his name from the report a week later when this directive was passed in the European Parliament. The way it was passed was described by some parliamentarians like basically that the European Parliament had been raped. There was backstabbing and deals that were not transparent, and the whole process was really, really rushed. So the day after the vote, one of the MEPs that I had contact with that were against the Data Retention Directive asked the Commission if the Commission's extended impact assessment, if that was carried out in accordance with the Commission's own impact assessment guidelines. So the question is whether each proposal should, of course, have an impact assessment, that you identify the problem and that you talk about the possible solutions and which solutions will impact what sectors of the society and if it will be efficient, etc. And the Commission actually has guidelines for how these impact assessments should be done, so that there's some kind of standard. And this MEP, she's Swedish, Charlotte Cederschiöld from EPP, the Conservative Group, asked whether they had done it according to their own rules. And the Commission answered, yes, of course. Everything has been elaborated in conformity with the guidelines on impact assessments. Yet the rapporteur had said that we don't know 4 times before the vote. So, did they really maybe decide before they had the discussion? It seems so, because this is discussion items from an agenda that was passed, or the agenda for a meeting that the Commission invited to. There's, in the Data Retention Directive, there's a recital 14 that defines a working group that is supposed to follow the implementation of this the directive in member states. It contains stakeholders like industry representatives, members from the European Parliament, the Commission, of course, and the European Data Protection Supervisor. And still, less than 1 month ago, the 30th of November, this was on the agenda. What is the role of internet transit providers? That's something else than internet service providers. What do we do with spam email? How does this directive apply to webmail services? How do we solve the problem with internet telephony? Cost recovery issues. Will this be paid by the customers of the telephone companies, or will the data retention be paid by the government or the government agencies? Not solved. Statistics. There was also a point called centralized data storage within the European Union. So there are ideas that we should have a centralized storage of data, that will telecommunication data that is retained, and data protection and related issues. So 2 years after the adoption of the directive, there is still within the Recital 14 working group discussions about central, really difficult questions, and they don't know the answers. Now, so this is happening in Brussels. Now, Christoph will say a bit what will happen with this directive and the implementation in Germany in 2008. So, please.
Well, can you hear me? Yes, fine. Yeah, I'm Christoph from the German Working Group on Data Retention, based in Berlin, actually, here. We will file, well, a kind of class action complaint to the Constitutional Court within the next days. We have about, well, 30,000 signatories of this, about this complaint, which is the largest complaint ever made in Germany. Thank you to all of you. It is really a very cool project. It has never been done before. Well, the complaint contains about 120 pages. I don't know why Eric wants that in on the file. We will file this complaint in 2 steps. Within the next days, we will file the complaint in the name of 4 people, which will be Patrick Breyer, Dr. Patrick Breyer, the founder of the AK Vorrat, Professor Gusi, Meinert Starostik, as far as I know, and Professor Rolf Gössner. And after that, after the case, the complaint will be accepted by the Constitutional Court, we will file the complaint of the other 29,996 complainers. This is just for technical reasons, because we have not finished hacking the data of the complainers into our database, our data retention database, however. Well, the class action lawsuit will lead to 4 possible outcomes. The first outcome could be the rejection. The Constitutional Court can say, well, we will not accept the complaint because it is about a European directive, it's not our business. The second possibility is that they will reject our urgent decree. We will file an urgent decree for stopping the law before it becomes effective. They could reject that, but they could accept the complaint itself. The third possibility is they will accept both. If they do, then we do not have to deal with data retention anymore. The fourth possibility, which is the best in our opinion, is that they accept the urgent decree and the complaint itself, but do not work on it themselves, but send it to the European Court. In this case, we could have the chance to bring down the European directive as well as the German adoption. Well, okay, that's for the constitutional complaint, but I just want to take 3 or 4 notes about our recent work, or the future work. Here at the Congress, we will hold 2 more workshops. The first is today at 18:30, Resistance Isn't Futile. We will talk about building up a civil society movement in Germany. The second workshop is on Sunday, 12:45, about building an international civil society. So I would kindly request all representatives of European and international NGOs, civil society movements, activists, to join that workshop, to get together and talk about strategies. Due to the constitutional complaint, we plan to hold a press conference on Saturday, which is tomorrow, just for information, if any press is here. We will make a demonstration in Hamburg on December the 31st. Please join the demonstration if you are from Hamburg. We will make a demonstration on January the 6th in Munich. Please join the demonstration in Munich if you are from Bavaria. But then there's one very important step. We will do a kind of strategy congress during February the 8th to February the 10th. It's a weekend in Kassel in Germany. We will invite every NGO and civil society activists, groups and movements to join the Congress to talk about strategies, building, well, a kind of civil society movement, a larger civil society movement than we have already, and building strategies of getting into stakeholders groups, force the lobbying on the European level and the national levels, and, well, get better connected in the civil society. And of course, another interesting goal will be the next large demonstration, well, throughout the year. I don't know, we have no concrete date on that. But I hope to see here in Germany about 50,000, 100,000 people. What about you? It depends on you. We need more